Thank you. I think there wasn't a question directed to me, but just an emphasis on the others. The most important thing that we have to note when it comes to inclusivity, for example, is that one principle that the locally led adaptation applies is the principle of inclusivity. And it endeavors to have every person considered when it comes to participation and, of course, decision making, particularly when it comes to the adaptation priorities. The model that even the FLOCA is currently using is a very friendly model that has been discussed as a bottom-up model. And for us to have the model piloted in the initial 5 counties that Abraham talked about, it really considered quite a number of factors. And if you look at the 4 key components that compose that model, we have the component of the committees as a very critical one, which we have discussed largely. And in the establishment of these committees, be it the committee at the county level or those at the ward level, it requires that inclusion is taken very seriously. We also have the element of monitoring and evaluation, strengthening those systems, just to ensure that there is that increased level of monitoring of adaptation indicators, and of course the aspect of accountability. And we also have the element of climate information, which I think has been missing. It is very critical to inform decision, of which even during the participatory risk assessments and everything done, it takes into consideration very critically why it is important to have climate information as a key element of consideration when it comes to informing decisions. So that's, I think, what I wanted to add. But of course, it's been a pleasure seeing how the model is evolving into enabling communities really to transform and change their lives as opposed to how it used to be before. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I've been informed that time is far much spent. Yeah? So we need to bring this session to a close. Everyone can appreciate that we cannot really exhaustively discuss the issue of resource mobilization, looking at public, private, and other emerging options within a span of, say, 1 hour. That's not really adequate. But for sure, it is worth an effort in terms of shedding more light for us now to have a deep dive into the opportunities that exist, ranging from private to public, as well as working with the civil society organizations. I want to bring this to an end this way, not necessarily coming back to you as participants in the interest of time. Really, if you asked one parting shot that you'd say to the audience, what could this be? In a split of a minute, then we'll give it back to them to appreciate all of us collectively. I start with Milton this time round.
Thank you. My parting shot to the audience, and of course having a message that you can send home, is that public participation is critical. And of course it's also a space for you to get information and understand more of what is really happening. Some questions I've really listened to informs that this level of public participation is limited. But this is a component or a space where you can really get opportunity to express your views and also get to learn more on the processes that are ongoing. Thank you.
In the book of Genesis, after God had created everything, He gave man dominion over the planet. It is our responsibility as we who are still alive today to be able to take care of this planet. And in the words of the late Professor Wangari Maathai, you can be able to sin to God as many times as you can, and God will be able to find a way of forgiving you. But nature, you sin to it once, when it rattles, you're gone. Thank you and God bless you.
My parting shot. Information is power. And information will never look for you. So you have to be intentional to look for the information. Money is there, we have heard. We have to wake up and look for where this money is, create partnership and collaboration that breaks the barrier for us to be able to access that money.
Thank you. There couldn't be a better way of finishing our panel discussion with the last parting shot from the powerful lady. Yeah. I think as a moderator of this session, I want to tell you that I'm one of the most proud person about the initiatives happening in Kenya, particularly on locally led climate action. Because when we started the County Climate Change Fund mechanism in 2013 as civil societies, piloting into the ASAL counties, I did not dream that a time will come like today when it is of national scale and even going international, having champions like His Excellency the Governor, who when we were engaging at those days, he was a member of parliament and he did help us with the private members motion to bring about the Climate Change Act of 2016. It has given birth to the CCF. It is anchoring the community structures like the World Climate Change Planning Committees. Honestly, collectively, we can say that we are proud and we have had a wonderful discussion this afternoon about the options that are available to help in the implementation of climate actions, be it from private or public sources. So all of us, can we appreciate the distinguished panelists as they wind up and move out of the stage. Asanteni sana. I can see you had something when, yeah. Oh, the distinguished panelists, I'm told that there is a way we come out of the panel. We are breaking the protocol. So please resume your seats if you don't mind, so that we can leave in an orderly manner. Resume your seats, sir. Okay, over to. All right.
Many thanks, asanteni sana. Let's add them a round of applause, please. Well done, Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Milton, wamekuita takataka lady. Doing a wonderful lady, but she's, takataka ni mali lady, au sio? Because she's transforming takataka into wealth. Asante sana. Many thanks, Abraham from Floka, and we also have, all that the plenary, wale ambao wameuliza maswali, many thanks. Asante. There are gift hampers, please, in the interest of time. Well, I request Dr. Caroline to come and gift our moderator, Mr. Nicholas Abuya, please. Just move over there to be captured. DJ, ile wimbo ilipotea ya gifts. Asante. Next I request Daktari Boyo, please come and award Mr. Milton. Asante sana, Milton. And I know also our panelists would love to be awarded by our chief guests, or rather our host, Vice Chancellor. Please come and award Madam Mary, Miss Mary, please. Then His Excellency will give the gift hamper to Mr. Abraham Barsosio from Floka. Kwa hivyo vijana tumepata hamasa kwamba tujitose katika masuala ya tabia nchi. Asante sana. Then our VC, please remain on stage for a photo, please. Dr. Boyo and Dr. Betty, please. Dr. Caroline, sorry, please. Just remain for a photo session, please. Just for a second, a photo session for just a photo, please. Asante sana. Naomba well done, well done, well done. Wapi makofi yao jamani? Asante sana, asante sana. Many thanks, many thanks. Indeed, it's been very informative session. We've learned a lot, and in fact, for us communicators, we've gathered a lot, because sometimes when we are communicating to the public, like here in Vihiga County, the county government of Vihiga has a radio station, 105.0 Vihiga FM, where we are also streaming this function. You find that without this information, yeah, so when we inform the public, we need this information, this knowledge, because you just can't talk to them without the necessary information. We are also live on our Facebook page, County Government of Vihiga, and also I can see Kaimosi University Facebook page updating this function. Without much ado, it's my pleasure to welcome our County Executive Committee Member for Environment and Climate Change, Honorable Onzere Mulongo, to come and welcome His Excellency to make his remarks, because I understand he has, I was guided so. Okay, there must have been a miscommunication. Now we go to the next panel, whereby I request Professor Stanley Omuterema, environmental expert and disaster risk reduction specialist, to kindly come and moderate the next session, another panel that will include Dr. John Otuoma, PhD, that is Regional Manager, KEFRI, please come on stage. I also request Dr. Caroline Mulinya, Director Climate Change Center, Kaimosi University, to also kindly come on stage. We have Honorable Nicholas Kitungulu, County Executive Committee Member for Agriculture, to also please join us on stage. And lastly, I request Kenneth Amisi, an ecosystem entrepreneur, to kindly join us on stage, so that we can also follow them, listen to them, and hear what they have to tell us on matters climate change. I can see our Waziri there, Kitungulu, has also taken his seat. Atuambie matters agriculture. How do we integrate agriculture, climate change, because it also affects our food ecosystem. Therefore, Prof, please, Omuterema, kindly, please take the podium. Thank you.
Yes. Distinguished guests and all our visitors, good afternoon. Yeah, it's a great moment. We have this gathering to address matters climate change, which are very prime and at the heart of our development. I have a brief presentation. I don't know how we arrange that, or we do the introductions, and then I take you through for about 10 minutes, and then we do a contribution from each of the panelists, if you can guide. Or we go ahead. Yeah, I'm to present something on ecosystem-based adaptation. I'll take a very short time, and it's so that each one of us will have some time. My name is Professor Stanley Omuterema. I am a person who was born and brought up in Vihiga County in Bunyore. And I teach environmental sciences, disaster risk reduction at Masinde Muliro University. I've been in this space for very many years. I am the current chair, Environment Institute of Kenya, Western, we call it the Greater Western Kenya. And our governor is also a member of that great institution. It's the watchdog of environmental matters in this country. I just want to talk about, give a brief about ecosystem-based adaptation. I just want to unpack it, what is it, and why is it relevant today, ecosystem-based adaptation? Is it just a word that we should talk about without applying? Is it relevant in our governance today? I'll start with the scenario on disasters in the globe, that kind of graphical outlook globally. You can just roll on. Disasters with economic damage from 1974 to 2003, shown like that, and then you can go to definition of ecosystem-based adaptation. Is actually adaptation or working within systems that respond to nature-based solutions when we are addressing issues of climate change. Nature-based means that when you are to solve issues of erosion, you are not going to use a lot of construction and engineering works. Are there plants that can be able to reduce the erosion locally? When you lack water, you are not going to bring boulders around. Are you able to prevent that stream to have the water from the local sources? And then these are approaches that are widely acclaimed all over the world, and they are embraced, and they are able to reduce the carbon footprint. They are able to retain the carbon that we complain about that is causing global warming globally. Okay? So how much are we able to use these nature-based solutions and embrace them so that we are using the ecosystem-based adaptation? Then you can roll down those slides so that I can finish and give my colleagues a chance. There are advantages of these ecosystem-based approaches. The director talked about, I should say, are they important? What are the advantages? Some of the advantages is that they support local people to adapt to climate change, helps them to produce ecosystem services. I'll not go so much deep into it because we all have to talk. And then they also improve financial ability within our homesteads and within communities. There are limitations. There are major limitations and other limitations. I think if you go through
are some of the initiatives that I'm presenting here that KEFRI is engaged in climate action.
Great. Let's give him a clap. Dr. Malinya. Very briefly.
Thank you to the audience. Kaimosi Friends University being an academic institution, this is where knowledge is brewed. And we intend to develop curriculum on short courses on climate change adaptation and mitigation. And besides that, we undertake a lot of research, and one of the research that we are involved in as a university is the conservation and the restoration of the Ribayala wetland. And in this, we've involved ourselves in the management of this river that is so important, particularly passes through this county, whereby we have involved all the stakeholders and the community to bring in solutions on the best way we can adapt to climate change. As you've listened, it's ecosystem based. So it can only come from the community. It can only come from us. And if it comes for us and is within the ecosystem, then we are good to go. Another project that we have been engaging in is with women in growing of African indigenous vegetables. All of us seated here know these are vegetables that take a shorter period to mature, and they can withstand sometimes the impact of climate change. So we are really involved in communities with the projects with women on growing of these vegetables. I think we are really looking forward as an institution, and today is just the beginning, to really look for solutions that are going to impact on this community in Vihiga County, Kenya at large, and the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Count Club. Honorable Kitungulu.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Mterema. My name is Kitungulu. Water is life. The reason why I'm saying so is because if you do not have water, then it means we will not be able to produce as a nation and as a county for food for our people. What we have done as the Department of Agriculture and under the leadership of His Excellency Governor Tichiro, we have been able to develop an irrigation scheme that serves over 170 people, which covers about 24 acreage. That irrigation scheme covers two sub-counties in 2 wards across. We have been able also to establish farm ponds, which can also be able to trap water. And those farm ponds, we have been able to erect tanks, solarized tanks, so that during harsh condition or dry seasons, our farmers can continue to produce farm produce. Currently, we are also putting in place more irrigation schemes so that we can be able to be prepared in eventuality of harsh or droughts, so that we can be able to continue to produce food, especially ALVs, as Dr. has said here. You realize that as a nation, agriculture contributes significantly or largely to our GDP as a nation, and in Vihiga, 85% of our farmers, of our population, depend on agriculture. So if we can be able to put up these measures and action, then we will be readily prepared for our people, because agriculture also contributes significantly to greenhouse effect. So as a county, we are also educating our farmers so that we can also do afforestation using fruiting trees like Hass avocado, so that we can be able to also uproot and be able to protect our wetlands. So that is what we are doing as a county, and we are ready, and I'm happy launching this center will be able now to make our farmers to be able to learn on technology and innovation in farming practices that will be able to contribute significantly to the growth of this county and be able to mitigate climate change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. Ken.
Thank you very much. My name is Kenneth Hamisi Amlavu. I'm representing Ecosystem Adventure, which is a community-based organization operating within Vihiga County. We are trying to approach conservation through partners in modern conservation and promotion of social change, whereby we are encouraging our people to venture into beekeeping, migombe plantation, fruit forest, and the environmental conservation of degraded lands. Our major aim is to create empowerment, create employment, create awareness, and improve on food security so that our people can be able to benefit through the sustainable environment. So as an organization, it is community-based, and our approach is bottom-up approach, whereby we allow ideas to flow freely from the community members, identify these ideas, and we move together. So far, our organization has been able to give over 500 beehives to community members. We've been able to plant trees on riparian land, wetlands, and hilltops to ensure that we conserve our water towers and create self-employment. I'm so happy because we also done gender mainstreaming, whereby women are also being encouraged to do beekeeping, and they have really taken an active role to an extent that they are even overtaking men in this strange environment. Actually, that's what we do, and we encourage members to come. With me here, I have one of the products that we also produce. I think you've seen me with a container. This is what we are doing, and this is honey from Vihiga County that has created a lot of employment to our people, both youth, young, women, and even men, and people living with disability. We don't discriminate. So we are encouraging our partners to venture into us so that we can be able to produce more bee products, because it's not only honey that comes from bees. We have pre-poly, we have bee wax, we have bee wax cream, bee venom, and several others. So if we get proper people to advise and give us capacity building, we'll be able to produce more and change our environment, and more so on food security, because bees are the main agencies of pollination. So you'll realize that when we have enough bees within our environment, food security is also secured. So in actual sense, that's what we do, and we are hoping that through our county government development partners, we'll be able to grow and produce honey, because people are telling us that Vihiga honey is the best because we have variety of nectar. It's an area we can venture, and it will create a difference and empower people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenneth. I think I'll now open this session for any comments, questions. Just very, very brief, so that if members are, yeah, very good. Just tell us your name and then you give your question.
I'm Lucy. My question I'll ask Professor Stanley. You talked about natural-based solution. I want to know, how can students and young people be engaged in those projects? Thank you.
Can you just, I was attending to, can you just repeat it?
Okay, sorry, I'm Lucy Mbugua. I want to ask Professor Stanley. You're dealing with natural-based solution, so I want to know, how can students and young people get involved in your projects? Thank you.
Yes, now I'll have a concern, and I'll also say that now that my first question was not answered, I directed to Dr. Mlinya to maybe start doing some work on that at the newly launched center. On to Kefri, we have a very good tree cover in Vihiga, but we have very dangerous trees called eucalyptus. How are you going to partner with us and the communities to maybe replace or have a mitigation on that? Putting in mind the Vihiga County people consider those trees as an economic activity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. Ochola Enoch. My first question goes to the KEFRI officer. Do you research and invest in fruit trees so that farmers can get the seeds and seedlings? Because as my friend has said, that here in Vihiga County, we consider agroforestry as an economic activity. But most farmers are relying on eucalyptus, which is a dangerous tree, because they do not have any other alternative. So we would like to know if you have other fruit trees so that we can encourage members, the fruit trees that will be dual purpose, will provide wood and at the same time food and fodder for our livestock. Another question goes to Dr. Caroline. What are I heard you talking of some of the short courses and some of us are thirsty of knowledge. I would like to know which are some of the short courses that Kafuko or Kaimosi University offers, so that we can tell our friends or we can enroll to learn more. And then you talked of...
you can just summarize so that we know we're going to
Thank you.
Okay, I think we'll have that as the last question, because time is not on our side. Or just give that, then finish. The lady, because gender, the lady behind wanted to ask her? Okay, just raise your question.
My question, I'm Agostino Neto from Mhaya. As part of food security, income generating activity, and job creation, Mr. Kitungulu, we had a program of stimulus program back then. Can you please do a follow-up or create time so that you can do a follow-up to those fish farmers who had ponds, and so far you can organize for them to be revamped. Then secondly,
thank you so much. I think
finally, Mr. Kitungulu, for your information, alongside Rivayala, we have hippos who are really making distractions to our farmers, whereby you can organize, then we see how we can help our farmers. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those questions. I'm well advised that I should give the mic to the MC. We'll deal with the questions in due course.
Thank you very much, Prof. For the interest of time, I think we shall hold on there. Those questions will be responded to when we find some time at the end tail of our program. So I'll ask the panelists very, very kindly that we shall stop there for this session and move on to the next session, because we are constrained with the time. Thank you so very much. You may take your seats. Thank you, Professor. Now we have one other thing to do. We have a keynote address on climate change and the water sector, understanding the impacts, nexus, and exploring options for resiliency. And this keynote address on that particular topic will be delivered by Professor Basil Ongoro, an engineer in his own right, a civil engineer and water expert from Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology. Professor Ongoro, please. It is your time. Thank you, Prof. And we also pray that you control the time.
His Excellency the Governor, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I know time is fast spent. I've prepared something here for about 15 minutes in 7 minutes. Let me first start by saying that I'm honored to stand here to take us through this very interesting topic, and giving a speech after the governor has spoken and other professional experts have spoken, it makes my work easy. Let me say that climate change has both negative and positive side effects. That is something we've had here, affecting humanity normally with far-reaching impact across all sectors. But today, this time I want to focus on water as a sector that is most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, and one most critical in shaping our collective future. We all know that it drives economic growth in a county, in a country. It supports health ecosystems, and also it is essential and fundamental for it by itself. What I'm trying to say is that as the climate change continues, other effects like environmental resources are under threat. They're under threats, increasing also the impact in water. So the impact of climate change on the water sector are both complex and far-reaching to some extent. Let me say, as we speak right now, the water sector is under crisis. There's the drought, which you all know, the floods, the forest degradation, poor management of water resources and water supply system. That's a fact. By the way, there's over-exploitation of groundwater and surface water resources. The groundwater resources we have in this country is around 609 million meters cubed per year, while the surface water resource is 7.4 billion meters cubed per year. By the way, I've done a lot of research in Vihiga here. I come from Masinde University, so we've done a lot of research here, both on sanitation issues, the groundwater issues, and also the surface water issues. And it is not interesting per se, by the way. It's not interesting. Something has to be done. So as I continue, I'll bring some of them out. The water contamination is a crisis. Also here in Vihiga, population growth, and also urbanization. Those are the major water sector crises. So in talk of water sector crisis, be informed that those are some of the things that we're dealing with globally and locally. May I say that the water resources in Kenya is stressed, just like it is stressed also here. There's an even distribution of water. Only 85% of Kenya, which is regarded as ASAL. The rest has that kind of, has water, but unevenly distributed. By the way, 28 million Kenyans lack access to safe water. And water scarcity is an issue. It affects also our county here. By the way, the replacement rate of the fresh water is about only 650 meters cubed per capita. This is far much below the 1,000, which is the standard. We also know that the demand that we have exceeds the supply. Even where we are seated here in this county, there's water scarcity. And let me also say, because I was given to address 4 areas, that there is inadequate and depleted, that is collapsed water infrastructures, as well as the distribution system. This cuts across a number of counties, and we are not immune to this. Then, of course, under the World Resources in there's global warming. That is why we are here to address in this particular platform. So mine is just to take us through 4 areas, and then I will be done. I was to talk about the state of water resources, the impact on climate change, and I go on. So let me say that it's important to understand the impact of climate change on the water sector, because we have just opened a center here. This center is for academics, and also, and academics wise, there's that mainstream academic, then there's that one of skill-based part of it, then there's that part of the social part of it, then you bring them together. So we need to understand the impacts of climate change on the water sector. And I'm saying that because there's an element of data. By the way, if you don't have data, you cannot address the water sector crises and issues that are affecting our country. By the way, even for planning those water infrastructure you talk about, even for designing for them, where to put them, how to design for them, we need what we call data. And I want to believe strongly, I believe that is why we have this center here. Let me say that we need to understand the changes in precipitation patterns and water availability as they affect us within where we are. I mean, you can look at the same region, you can look at the flood areas and all that. The changes in precipitation patterns affect us. It affects us in so many ways in this part of the world. Then we have the increased water temperature. The increased water temperature and the ecosystem health, they affect us, the water in the rivers, the lakes, the oceans, the seas, and the warm water. All that, they have serious consequences on the aquatic systems within the lake region here. Then, of course, we have extreme weather events and infrastructures, vulnerability. Allow me to say this, from the global perspective, you heard of hurricanes, typhoons, cyclones, flood, and drought. This is now local. But then, their impact on dams, treatment plants, and the distribution system is so massive to the extent that you may find that the country government, or those responsible, spending more money and rebudgeting so that we have enough water. We have cases of submerged homes, especially in the lower part of this county. What I'm trying to say, that normally we end up with the disruption of the daily life and loss of the human and animal, the public health issues and economic issues. So this calls for the need for resilient water infrastructures that can withstand such shocks which are there. We have to deal with them, either locally or otherwise. May I also say that underwater climate nexus, there's interlinkages and interdependence, that water and climate are interconnected because the climate change affects water availability and quality, while water is critical for mitigating and adapting to climate impact. So water and climate mitigation, we've talked about it here. Let me assure us that we need to work more on afforestation, on the wetland restoration, which will lead to more trees that are carbon sinks and hence reduction in the global warming. It is very important that we embrace systems, we embrace methods that are local to enable us to achieve that. May I also say that underwater and climate adaptation, that climate adaptation in the water sector, it involves not only improving the resilience of water infrastructure, because water infrastructure is very important, whether it's the supply system, whether the distribution system, whether the storage system, all that is part of the water infrastructure. And whether it is a question of drilling boreholes and then putting the distribution system, all that forms part of the infrastructure, the water infrastructure systems. So we need to adapt water management systems that can cope with extreme events like floods and droughts, depending on where we are. We also need to construct dams, especially where flooding takes place. And I want to encourage us to embrace the water harvesting and storage structures. By the way, that is something that I expect, Your Excellency. You may come up with a policy that when somebody is putting a house, they must show that they have a water harvest and storage structure. That is the only way out we can become water efficient in this area. So no approval should be done if there is no water harvesting and storage structure. By the way, it is going to help us as a country quite well. And of course, encourage us that I heard somebody talking about irrigation. By the way, irrigation alone is not enough. What kind of irrigation are you doing? You know, are you using drip irrigation? Are you using sprinkler irrigation? What kind of irrigation are we promoting in this area? Because irrigation as per se, without looking into the amount of water that's available, of course you have to know the amount of water required, and you do proper design before you do an irrigation. What I'm trying to say that people should do proper designs of irrigation systems, then they adapt the systems that are economical, that will lead to storage, that lead to use of water efficiently. We also need to construct flood control structures where necessary, like the dikes, the flood and reservoirs, and more importantly, the development of policies. I know Water Act 2016 is there, but we need to develop policies that ensure equitable access to water, where water is required, that covers the entire place. Your Excellency, when I was doing upper research here on sanitation, and my friend Mulonge knows that, we came up with so many things that are not right as far as water and sanitation is concerned here. We are still anchoring most of our things on the policy of the national government, and that is a setback. We need to develop our local policies to govern us as far as the use of water and also the sanitation facilities is concerned. Now let me go to agriculture bits, agriculture, water, agriculture and food security. Water, agriculture, climate nexus is of vital importance, because changing precipitation patterns and increase in evaporation rate due to high temperature normally leads to water scarcity, crop failure, reduced agriculture productivity, disruption in food supply chains. I'm talking of change of precipitation and temperature, because we need to plant more trees, because we know what tree does. Other than as carbon sinks, they also work on our temperature, so that the rate of evaporation is reduced to some extent. Somebody will say how, but as I said before, it's a complex system that we need as compared to a bare land or a bare surface. We need to ensure sustainable water use in agriculture is central to adapting the climate change. As I wind up, let me say that there are a number of options for building resilience in the water sector, where the resilience here refers to the capacity of the water systems to adapt to changing climatic conditions, to absorb some of the shocks I've mentioned, and to continue to provide essential services. So one of them is integrated water resource management. I've mentioned that. Normally, it saddened me when it rains, because we have worked on the pavements are all over. You know, we have cut everywhere. You see all the water flowing downstream, okay? So we need to think on how do we harvest that water. So we need what we call an integrated water resource management system that will ensure sustainable use of water across sectors, and to promote coordination between government, industries, and local communities. And when I talk of integrated, we think on how do we reuse the wastewaters? How do we improve on water usage efficiency? How do we ensure that we have equitable distribution? And so on and so forth. Do we need to develop these ones here? That is one way of ensuring that we are building resilience in the water sector. This cuts across whether in the villages or in the town setup. The second one is we need to develop climate resilient water infrastructures. These are infrastructures that can withstand the shock of extreme weather, whether it is floods or whether it's floods or drought. So time has come for us, and this calls for proper design. Whereas I agree that we need to use the local materials with the local expertise, like some that we saw there, but we need to subject them to a little bit research to ask ourselves if they're sustainable and if they're cost effective. Otherwise, we may spend some money using the local material which are not sustainable in the end. So we need to work on that, and we look at what we call the cost-benefit analysis before we implement. And this research center is for that. I want to believe so. A good example is, if you want to, we need to know, like where I stand, we don't just talk about floods, but we talk about the return of particular floods, okay? And we look at the probability of that flood coming back. So basically, we do a lot of research in the laboratory to find out where the material that we are going to use for other dikes or dams construction can withstand some of the shock in the near future, because this is an academic institution, and we need to do that. Then we also need to come up with the methods of protecting and strengthening water treatment plants and upgrading distribution system to prevent water losses. And I believe in some areas, when we're doing some research, I think in the lower part Sabatia, we had cases of the distribution systems which are ran down. Finally, under this climate resilient water infrastructure, I want to encourage develop what we call the smart water system use. The smart water system use, where we use the real-time data and predictive modeling. Real-time data and predictive modeling to manage our water resources efficiently and to respond to emerging climate impacts. And that is why the center is here. There'll be scientists here, there'll be engineers there to do the modeling. And modeling, when we do modeling, we are coming out with decision support systems, which are going to help us as a county in order to tackle some of these issues. Then there's the water conservation efficiency measures. This is something that we need to adopt. We need to promote water-saving technologies in agriculture. I'm repeating that. In industries that we have in household, as well as improving the management of water resources at all levels, beginning from the local level where most of us sit. We also need to adapt techniques such as rainwater harvest. I talk about that, wastewater reuse, the use of more efficient irrigation systems, such as drip. I've talked about that. Then, of course, we have the ecosystem-based adaptation. My friend, Professor Muterema has just talked about that, so I won't talk about. But it's important to adapt ecosystem-based systems. We have ecosystem-based adaptation to sort out some of these water issues in our setup. Then finally, there's the climate resilient agriculture. That is, we need to promote climate smart agriculture. This is vital in ensuring food security. I understand that Vihiga is food insecure. The Vihiga is food insecure because we rely on the rainfall. And if we rely too much on the rainfall, then we have a problem because it is very unpredictable of late because of climate change. So people lose time and they waste time as they wait for the rain. And sometimes when the rain comes, it is too much for us, for some of our crops. So we need to develop what we call the climate smart agriculture, to ensure there's the food security, economic stability in the face of the climate change. They also need to adopt what we call precision irrigation techniques. I've talked about that. We need to embrace drought-resistant varieties. And I'm happy that I've heard about what is happening when we are walking outside there. So we need to go back because embracing this drought-resistant crop variety will help us to sort out the issue of the problem we have in food security. We also need to improve on soil management to minimize water uses. Basically, that is important. So I know I'm pressed of time, but let me say this, that there's also an element of international cooperation and governance, something that we need to embrace because you know that many of the water systems or river basins that transboundary, even the groundwater, the aquifer we have here, I tell you, it cuts across a number of counties. So these cooperations must be strengthened. Otherwise, somebody may say the aquifer is mine, isn't it? And you know the flow. Somebody may say the river is mine. So we need to harmonize. We need to embrace the cooperations and the governance and so on. We need to strengthen the governance framework and fostering cooperation between counties that share the same water. Now, in conclusion, let me say this, that the water sector, it faces significant challenges due to climate change. We know that. So in order for us to meet the SDG 6, which we as a country, we have to meet and to safeguard water security for future generation, then one, we need to understand the impacts and the effect of climate change of water resources. And understanding does not mean just knowing that there's an element of flood, there's an element of drought, but we need to go deep and understand the impacts, because those impacts are great. They are affecting to the local person on the ground. We need to recognize the interconnection between water, climate, and explore a range of adaptation strategies. Then we must also develop what we call innovative ways for sustainable water management strategies and embrace international cooperation. And I'm happy that somebody talked about financing, because that was one of my last conclusion, that we need to strengthen what we call the Water Sector Trust Fund. Water Sector Trust Fund is well placed in the Act 2016, so we need to put more money there, either from the government or from the private sector. My plea is that, Your Excellency, as you work on your budgets, you put more money to take care of the water, because water is life. Thank you. Hope I've tried.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you so very much. Quite a bit to share with us, but they've been constrained with the time. I hope next time, Prof, we shall find enough time for you. Now we move on to the next session. And here I want to take this opportunity to invite our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Julius Kipkemboi, to be able to read to us the resolutions. Thank you, Professor Engineer Ongor. Professor Julius Kipkemboi to read to us the conference resolutions and in turn invite our Vice Chancellor for his closing remarks, who will in turn invite the Governor for his closing remarks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Excellency, the Vice Chancellor, and distinguished guests, I think you will agree with me. Day. I was just asking myself whether we all know how much climate change costs, whether it is the material, financial, and I was just scanning and I realized that it costs per hour $16 million US. It is estimated that by 2050, it will cost between $1.7 to $3.1 trillion. We may think that this is not going to affect us, but look at it this way. Every time there is an issue, you realize that part of the resources which would otherwise benefit each one of us is diverted to either solve a crisis and many other issues. That's how it costs and it affects each one of us. And it's for this reason that we are here today gathered so that we can be able to chart the way forward. So we have highlights of what we've discussed today. So we have captured some highlights which we are going to, as His Excellency said, we are going to put it into a report which we'll share with all of us. And so what I'm going to share with you is just highlights. I'm going to share with you the highlights of the resolutions which we've captured by the Secretariat. We are going to distill this and it will be part of the report which we'll share. So allow me, Your Excellency and the Vice Chancellor and distinguished delegates for this conference to read for you resolutions from the Climate Change Conference. This is Inaugural Climate Change Conference held at Kaimosi Friends University on 7th November 2024. The Inaugural Climate Change Center for Action and Research Conference held at Kaimosi Friends University on 7th notes that each one of us has a role to play on matters climate change. The success requires multi-pronged, multidisciplinary approach where everyone becomes part and parcel of addressing the challenges related to climate change. And that knowledge and information hub on climate change, which has been launched today, will play a crucial role in contributing to local and global efforts on climate change research and action. Further, on financial and economic front, this conference takes note that the county government, working together with other partners, is ready to support the center and the university to achieve the goals and objectives in order for it to attain more recognition as a center of excellence. That the university will develop a strategic plan for the center in order to tap into the support of existing development partners and mobilize resources. The university will use the center as a hub for generating data, pioneering climate change, mobilizing resources, and establishing partnership and collaborations. That FLOCA program, which aims at promoting vertical collaborations to address climate change, will continue to support and has secured resources from different donors to address climate change issues. That the program of Takataka ni Mali as entrepreneurial waste recycling programs that are possible areas of collaboration to generate income while mitigating and adapting to climate change challenges. On research and innovation front, the university will use the center as a hub for generating data, pioneering climate change and research, as well as innovations. The university is best placed to provide the necessary education on climate change, hence establishment of Climate Change Center, which will be the hub for knowledge and information sharing. The climate change should be mainstreamed in all schools and academic departments, and hence the center should be able to provide tailor-made training. The existing knowledge gaps in climate data is a potential area of research, and that the university will work together with all the partners to tap into these opportunities. And that there is need for more innovations for climate change adaptations. On community involvement, this conference takes note that communities are champions, and they are champions in place in this county, but there is need for continuous involvement of community members and groups, making sure that no one is left behind. To all of us here today, noting that there are global and national commitments on climate change, and that the cost of climate change impacts are huge if nothing is done, and also noting that climate change mitigation and adaptation success can only be realized through collective and individual effort. And from here, it is not about what or who is going to do what, but rather start from what you're going to do as an individual. So the emphasis is also on I. What are you going to do? So let's leave here with the message that as an individual, what are you going to do? These are some of the key areas which Secretariat has captured. Unless there is anything else which any distinguished member who is here feels that it needs to be included in this resolution, which I've said will be distilled and it becomes part of the report, we would like to request for support of these resolutions. Yes, I see a hand up there. This is part of inclusivity, Your Excellency. We don't want to leave anyone behind.
Your Excellency and distinguished guests, good afternoon again. Yeah, very good resolutions over there. I understand them very well. Can we look at periodical dissemination of knowledge and data and information on what we gather as a center? So that we are saying that periodically, like after, say, 3 months, we have some write-up on climate outlook or climate change outlook or interventions outlook in the region. And then we share with the potential funders, potential sponsors. And then we can also talk about collaborative writing of proposals with the like-minded partners, with the view of boosting the financing of the center. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've taken note of that. It will be part of the strategic plan and activities. So, noting that we seem to be all in agreement, I want to assume that we unanimously support these resolutions. I see no objection. Thank you very much. So, but we are still open to any other proposal. I want to now welcome back the Master of Ceremony. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Okay, now I am given back the opportunity to invite the Vice Chancellor for the closing remarks, who will also invite His Excellency the Governor.
Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. Wilbur Otichilo, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, I'm going to be brief. I'll take about 3 minutes or less than 3 minutes. But I must say that it is always said that all is well when it starts well and ends well. We have come to the end of this memorable event that will forever, if you agree with me, be historical in all our lives. Especially us who are here today, and those who are watching us from various medias. It is also, it also marks a historical landmark in our lives as the participants and people who have made this event success. We have all listened to various addresses, beginning with our own governor, and various addresses and presentations together with the exhibitions, all of which have pointed to one direction, that there is urgent need for action to address the adverse negative impacts of climate change beyond mitigation to adaptation. As we conclude this inaugural climate change conference and the launch of the center, I take this opportunity to extend my sincere gratitude to each one of you for your insightful contribution and making this event a remarkable success. Now today we have delved deep into a vital role that inter-county and multi-sector and multi-stakeholders collaboration plays in accelerating climate action, advancing environmental conservation, and supporting the restoration efforts. The discussion and ideas shared today underscore the urgency of our collective responsibility in addressing the crisis that we are facing. Your Excellency, the Governor, ladies and gentlemen, through this event, we have made resolutions that have been read here by the DVC in charge of academic, student affairs and research. And this is in order to combat the effects of climate change at all levels of the community, from the grassroots to the top. And Kaimosi University has been singled out as a key actor in the generation of knowledge through impactful research, knowledge that go beyond the traditional publications to action. I would like to appreciate His Excellency, the Governor, Dr. Wilbur Otichilo, for urging the university to mainstream change or climate change in all our academic programs. And indeed, when this is actualized, it will become one of the milestone in mainstreaming climate change action. Just like when HIV/AIDS started, university mainstreamed various actions of HIV. In fact, we actually had even units for HIV taught in universities. And that actually brought a lot of difference. And so, even with climate change, going in this direction will actually bring a lot of change, positive change, as we actually face our future. I would like to assure you, Your Excellency, that this will be looked into at KAFU, and probably KAFU will be the first university to mainstream climate change in all our programs. To conclude, I would like once again to thank you most sincerely, Your Excellency, Honorable Dr. Otichilo, for spending your day with us in this conference. Also, I would like to thank all the presenter, all the panelists who are here, and all the participants, because we all participated in one way or another. I thank you very much for the ideas that were brought up. The Secretariat, the organizing committee will actually now try to fast track that resolution and come up with a publication. We need a proceeding, as what our governor said in the morning. We need a proceeding. We just within 2 weeks. That proceeding should be, we should be able to actually read it. And from there, then you can actually get 1 or 2 publication and actually post that publication in high impact journals so that it becomes widely read in academia and also on the other part of the application area. So I wish you a safe journey as you travel back to your various destinations, and I hope that we'll continue interacting, we'll continue collaborating, and I think from here we have made new potential collaborators that we are going to pursue as a university. The same thing which I know that you have actually made new contacts that will actually pursue in your own way to improve this urge of making sure that our world is clean many years to come. Now, with these few remarks, I now take this opportunity to invite His Excellency the Governor, Honorable Dr. Wilbur Otichilo, to give his remark and then close this conference. I think let us applaud and remain standing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let us be seated. Because of time constraints, I'll be very brief because I think we have done a lot of talking and it's time now to wind up. I wish to start my remarks by thanking everybody. You have been very, very, very patient. Since we started this conference up to now, we have been very patient, and therefore I want to thank you all. Second, I want to thank all the presenters who have done an incredible job to present various presentations on this climate change subject. Also the discussants, thank you very much for all what you have been able to discuss and present to this congregation. For me, it's been a great day. It's a milestone in our university. We have now embarked on a new journey. We have established a new institution in this great university of ours, and it's now to nurture this baby, the Center of Excellency on Climate Action and Research. We need to nurture this baby so that the baby grows very fast and start bearing fruits. So my proposal, as I said earlier this morning, is now the director of the center to be proactive, and the first thing I would expect is for you and the technical committee, plus other people who have contributed so well here, to embark on a strategic plan, a plan that should be able to be crafted as soon as possible and then be launched. And it's that strategic plan that we are going to use as a blueprint for us to look for money. You are not going to look for money just by talking. We must put that document in place. And given the presentations that have been given here, and our champions who are at the world level, it's not very difficult to come up with a strategic plan. So to me, that's the challenge I want to leave you with. I am sure the team in my office are capable. If you work together, we can say in the next maximum 3 months, we should have a strategic plan ready for launching probably early January. And from there, we start looking for funds with a document that we can sell to our prospective partners. So that is doable, that is possible. Finally, as we said this morning, the proceedings of this conference must be well prepared. Let's request those who presented and those who were discussants now to write details of what they would have wanted to say. And let's have those details in a form of a paper or presentations, which then should be submitted to the committee, who will then collect and be able to collect the whole thing and organize it into a publication, which will be a pioneer publication for our center. So I believe if we can come up with those two outputs out of this conference, it will be something commendable. And based on what I've had here, we have a lot of resources. I've listened to all of you, and I see we have the expertise, we have the people. What we need now is to move forward. So to make this center, which we launched today, a center of excellence, I see no problem. Because we have what it takes, we have the people, and what we need is to mobilize the resources. So with those few remarks, it's now my pleasure to officially declare this conference officially closed.
Okay. One announcement, please. All ward committee members, please remain behind. All ward climate change committee members from Vihiga County remain behind. We have the presiding clerk of Kaimosi Friends Yearly Meeting, Reverend Ishmael Chanzu, will say the closing prayer. Immediately after the closing prayer, we shall have our national anthem.
Let's bow down and pray. Our dear loving Father, we want to thank you, to praise you, to glorify you for who you are, Lord. Father, as we enter this room, dear God, we ask you to be with us. We thank you and we glorify Thank you for the presentations we have heard from this room. Thank you for the deliberation we have had, your God. Father, as we go out, your God, we go with you and ask you, Father, to lead them and do our work. Father, we pray for our Excellency, the Governor, as he leads this county, Father. Give him wisdom, give him good health, give him ability, your God, even to do for us so many other things that we need, your God. We pray for the management of this university, Father, led by the Professor Mwita. Father, may you lead them, guide them, and take care of them, your God. Father, don't forget to pray for all the participants who have been patiently listening here, your God. Thank you for their contribution, Father. Even as we get our resolutions, King of Kings, make them to do the work easier for us, your God, and shall praise and glorify you, Lord. As we close this meeting and go out, Father, dismiss us by your praisings, your God. Even as we travel, Father, cover all the mode of transport we are using with the blood of Jesus. We travel safely. As we reach home, your God, we shall glorify and exalt your holy name. We bless you and we glorify you. For in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you everyone. We are now at liberty. We may take leave at our own pleasure. Thank you so very much, each one of us. Feel appreciated for having been part and parcel of